Due to the impending snowstorm, the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey is postponed from Tuesday, March 14th, 2017 to Thursday, March 16th, 2017 at 6:30 in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of this meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Tuesday, March 13th, 2017, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, the Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the reason for the postponement and the new time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, can we have a roll call, please?
Mike Phelan.
Here.
Mark Friedman.
Here.
Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Robert Garrison. Chris Langhart. Gretchen Olig.
Here.
Peggy Astor.
Here.
Charles Astra.
Here.
Amy Root.
Mark, can you lead us in the flag salute,
Sure.
please?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this point, I'd recognize the public for agenda items only. Seeing no one come. Oh, we have announcements. Sorry, Laurie. Michael, do you have any announcements?
Yes, I have one. Congratulations to the Westfield High School senior Dale Byard, who's been selected to perform at the All Eastern Honors Concert Band on April 7th and 8th in Atlantic City. Prior to the performance, he will spend 3 days rehearsing with 5 conductors during the Eastern Division Conference of National Association for Music Education. According to the association, this exceptional student will prepare remarkably challenging music that will be performed under the leadership of the prominent conductors in this biennial event. Byard, a trumpet player, is among the most musically talented high school students in the eastern region of the United States. Great.
Charles.
I actually have 2 announcements. Intermediate schools. Roosevelt 8th grade character education group held a bake sale to raise money for the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. All proceeds were used to purchase 85 cases of water. The water will be delivered to the Catholic Charity Center for Hope in Flint and given to families in need. Second one, Student Council of Roosevelt Intermediate School went on a shopping spree on February 28th to purchase children's toys and baby items for the Children's Specialized Hospital in Mountainside. During a fall fundraiser, the Student Council, which includes 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, raised $1,000 to fill the wish list created by the hospital's long-term care unit. On March 3rd, all of the purchased items, including a gift card, were delivered to the hospital by Student Council Executive Board members and advisors Marissa Connolly and Erin Aiello. So, all right, so sorry about that, Erin. But anyway, it's nice to see that the middle schools are giving back. It really is.
Indeed. Thanks, Charles. Brendan?
Fame, the musical, the pop culture phenomenon about the legendary New York High School of the Performing Arts, will light up the stage at Roosevelt Intermediate School next weekend. The performances will be on Friday, March 24th at 7:30 p.m., Saturday, March 25th at 7:30 p.m., and Sunday, March 26th at 2 p.m. Tickets are now available by visiting ris.booktix.com.
You should have to sing that next time.
With your shirt hanging off your shoulder.
Mark.
March is the nationally celebrated Youth Art Month. When you are downtown Westfield this month, enjoy the colorful and creative artwork created by our students and on display in the store windows of 33 merchants. The artwork includes paintings, drawings, sculpture, and painted furniture designed by approximately 300 students from Westfield's 10 public schools. Also, check the student artwork featured in the Westfield Memorial Library and RMC Studios in Garwood.
Peggy.
I have an announcement from the PTC committees. The Gifted Education Committee of the Parent-Teacher Council invites all parents and students to an academic enrichment resources seminar on Thursday, March 30th from 6:30 to 8:30 at Edison Intermediate School. This year's theme is Benefits of Public Speaking and Leadership, with a presentation by guest speaker Melissa Stryker. There will be a debate workshop for grades 5 and up. In addition, a wide range of information about enrichment opportunities designed for different ages and interests will be provided. The event is free and open to the public. For more information, please contact gntwestfield@gmail.com or the Gifted Ed Committee website.
I do. April 19th is the deadline for nominations for the 25th Annual Charles Philhauer Fellowship Award, designated for a full-time elementary teacher in the Westfield Public Schools. Nominations should specify ways in which the teacher has demonstrated outstanding teaching, interest in children, and continued pursuit of professional growth. The teacher must be a full-time faculty member in grades K to 5 in Westfield Public Schools for a minimum of 5 years. The fellowship recipient will be honored at a Rotary Luncheon and at the Westfield Board of Education meeting, both scheduled for May 9th, and they will receive a Rotary grant to further professional growth or to enhance classroom activities for students. Letters of nomination are invited from interested citizens, parents, students, and Westfield Public School staff members, and should be addressed to Charles Philhauer Fellowship Committee of the Westfield Rotary Club, care of Office of the Superintendent of Schools, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, or email to rotaryphilhauer@westfieldnjk12.org. And all the elementary schools have copies of the brochure, and you can also pick those brochures up there or in the superintendent's office as well.
Our next Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, March 28th at 302 Elm Street at 7:30 p.m. And the complete agenda will be available online on Friday, March 24th on our website. So at this point, I would recognize anyone from the public to the podium for agenda items. Seeing no one come forth, we'll jump right into the budget presentation. Dr. Dolan?
Yes, and actually, I'll turn this over to Mrs. Sullivan for the budget presentation.
So, since our last meeting, we did receive state aid information. As we had thought, the state aid stated exactly the same level as it did, as we had received in the 16-17 school year. With that state aid information, we also received another download of the budget, the legal budget document from the state. So with that download, the calculation from the state was forcing us to appropriate another $163,000, $163,799 out of our fund balance. You'll recall we were appropriating $2 million, $750 to be used in the operating budget, and the other $1,250,000 we were depositing into reserve accounts. The recommendation and what you'll see in all of these documents is that we're now using $913,799 for the operating budget, but we increased the expenditures for expenditures that are non-recurring expenditures, so that in the 18-19 budget, if we only use $750,000 from fund balance as a revenue, we won't have a shortfall on our expenditure side. So everything you'll see here is $163,799 more than the presentation that was 2 weeks ago, because of that change. So the state aid, because state aid has stayed stable over the last few years, and our budget, of course, is going up because of increases in salaries and other contractual increases, the percentage of the budget that's sustained from the state aid is going down, so we're now roughly 3.5% of our budget comes from state sources. So the total operating budget went up $2.1 million. The largest part of that is health insurance increases, and you can see there it's $959,000. That's actually about a 6% increase, which is less than many other districts are experiencing, and that's because we did self-insure last year. We have one teacher at the intermediate level that we've added for enrollment increases, and then we have 3 special ed teachers that we're adding for programs that we're enhancing in district. We have salary increases estimated at $1.1 million, increases in utilities, transportation contracts, and other pension costs of $211,000. Usually you don't see a decrease in special ed accounts. The reason that we're projecting a decrease now is because of the enhancements we're making to in-district programs. We're expecting to keep a number of kids in district that we otherwise would have sent to out-of-district placements, and that's why you see some decreases in that line. And then all of the other budget accounts, of which there's hundreds, decreased by $98,000. So total budget went up 2.1 million. The enrollment, we expect to stay relatively steady for next year. You can see from back in 1990, we're significantly higher than we were, about 2,000 students. But for the last 10 years or so, we're higher than we were 10 years ago, but at least for the last 7 years, we've stayed stable at about 6,365 kids we're projecting for next year. The goals of this budget were to maintain district programs at the level of excellence we currently have, to continue with technology as a priority and fund the amount that was recommended by the technology committee, to deliver a responsible budget to the taxpayers and to stay within the state's adjusted cap, also to uphold our record of efficient spending, continue using $750,000 of fund balance as a revenue, and to fund the track and turf replacement out of our capital reserve account. So going through each one of those goals, we are maintaining our academic programs. There are no reductions in any programs that we currently have. And this is just a list of our accomplishments. I mean, we pretty much every board meeting talk about accomplishments, so I don't think we have to talk too much about that, but we are maintaining all of our excellent programs. Technology, we did add back some of the $163,000 that we added. About $110,000 of that went to technology. And what we plan to do there's a couple of improvements here that we were going to finance over 3 years. We're now going to pay outright in 1 year for some of those rather than financing it. So this is a list of all of the investment type projects that we plan to do. Some of it's equipment, some of it is upgrades to our firewalls and security, and to make our systems run quicker and more efficiently. The other part of the technology budget are recurring costs, our internet service and the rental of our private fiber. We have quite a number of licenses that we need to maintain for instructional, many of it's instructional programs, but also for our administration programs. We have subscriptions that we need to pay for, phone service, and then other repairs. The operating budget is an increase of 2.7%, so there is a 2% cap on the tax levy increase. We were able to adjust that to 2.7 because of state approved waivers that we're allowed to use. We actually could have increased it another $69,289, which we did not use in this school year, in the next school year. That will be available for us as a waiver that we can use in any of the next 3 fiscal years, so 18-19, 19-20, or 20-21. So this year we are technically under the state adjusted cap by approximately $70,000. To continue our efficient spending, you can see we spend $13,434 per year per child. That is a number that is calculated. The state takes audited information that is sent directly from the auditors to the state, and they calculate what they call a comparative cost. So there are things such as out-of-district tuition for special ed students that's extracted from this number because it's not considered comparable from district to district. And that's how they come up with this number. The 14-15 is the latest information that the state has published. And we are at 13,434, and you can see we're low compared to many districts that are surrounding areas and somewhat similar to us in size. One of the goals was to continue budgeting at $750,000. As I mentioned earlier, we did increase that next year to $913, but not for recurring costs. So that next year, if we do drop back to $750,000, the offset will be in expenses as well, so it will not be an issue. We won't have a shortfall on the revenue side there. We could have taken that money and put it into reserve accounts, but since we were financing some technology items, it made more sense to pay those off rather than putting this money in reserve accounts.
Do we use some of it for science, STEM?
Yes,
science kits?
we also added $45,000 to instructional supply accounts to purchase science kits that we need for science curriculum for next year. The last goal that I mentioned there was to fund the track and turf replacements out of the capital reserve accounts. We do have money in the reserve accounts to do that next summer. In addition to that, summer of 18, meaning next summer. In addition to that, we have a number of other projects that we plan to do between the summer of 17 and 18. Renovations to locker rooms, upgrading controls, HVAC heating controls at many of the schools, some renovations to classrooms, and the estimated cost of that is $3.3 million. And we do have money in the capital reserve account to do all of those projects. The maintenance reserve, which is a separate reserve account, we also have smaller projects that we plan to do out of those accounts. These are recurring things that we do mostly every year: ceiling and lighting replacements, resurfacing and replacing floors in classrooms, painting buildings, concrete repairs, and again, heating repairs to various schools. So over the next 2 summers, we anticipate spending roughly $322,000 there. And you'll recall, as we do transfer these funds out of the reserve accounts, we put resolutions on the agenda. So that will still happen. This is just for planning purposes, but as we start moving along with these projects, you'll see these transfers on the agenda so we can use the funds.
Dana, it's a little bit outside the budget, but while you're planning to do all this other work, there's also a lot of work being done during that time related to the last bond that we had, right?
Yes, that's the thing
the
that
next
next
page,
slide.
yeah.
Yeah, next slide.
Sorry.
Yes, so in addition to all that, and
Should've
that's
read
why, that's why some of these projects are listed as 2018, because 2017, we still have a number of large projects that are funded by the referendum. The 2 biggest are the auditorium renovations at Edison and Roosevelt. In addition to that, we are also doing the elevator at Roosevelt School. That's gonna be, you're awarding a contract on that tonight, if you approve that. We're also gonna be replacing multi-purpose room floors in 3 schools. We're gonna continue with our fire alarm replacements. We did 3 buildings last year. We're gonna finish the rest of those buildings this summer, which is also quite a bit of work and mess involved in that. The boiler projects, we had both the high school and Roosevelt boilers. We did go out to bid for those together. The bids came in very high. So our recommendation is for you to reject those bids this evening and approve rebidding just Roosevelt for this next summer, 17, and then next year we'll rebid for the high school. We think it's getting too late at this point to take on both schools and rebid at this point. And Roosevelt boilers, we're having a little more of an issue with. The high school is not as much of a priority for this summer as Roosevelt is. So that's why we're recommending that. And even after these projects, we're still gonna have some smaller referendum projects that'll probably be finished in summer of 18. But this will conclude most of our big projects in the referendum.
We were recently talking about some security upgrades at different schools, new cameras. Is that also part of the referendum, or am I misremembering?
No, they're funded by ROD grants.
Okay.
Those were grants that we applied for probably 4 years ago or so. We are currently working on phase 2. So phase 1 was completed last year.
Right.
We're in phase 2 right now, where we're installing more cameras and additional security items, but that's not funded under any of these accounts.
Okay.
Where does
The local share
where's the
actually is
local
funded
share
out of
come from?
that comes out of capital reserve.
Okay.
But that's already out of capital reserve, because we've already issued purchase orders for those.
Okay.
And then the revised budget calendar, so we did receive state aid on March 2nd as we expected. We did plan on approving this on Tuesday night, sorry, that says Tuesday, March 16th, should say Thursday. We had planned on approving it Tuesday, obviously we had to cancel, so we're approving it tonight. The budget will be electronically submitted to the county office as soon as this meeting is over, actually, and then we'll deliver tomorrow a whole packet to them of other documents that they require as supporting documents for the budget. They have until April 20th to approve the budget, and then we will advertise, as we're required to in the Westfield Leader, the public hearing, which we'll hold on April 25th. And then we'll have final adoption on April 25th of the budget. And that concludes the presentation. Does anybody have any other questions?
I have a comment after you guys, any questions?
Any questions? Go ahead, Mark.
So, I just wanted to first thank Dr. Dolan and Dana and the administration and anybody that came in involved in the budget. I know it really is a district-wide kind of a thing. I know from a board perspective, it goes very seamlessly. You guys have obviously been doing it, for a long time already. I'm sure there's a lot of, locked doors and people screaming and fighting for dollars. Maybe I'm being too dramatic. But it really is, I think from a public perspective, you should understand that, I've been on the board now 6 years, and I think the financial situation of the district was very different 6 years ago when I got here, and I'm not at all aligning that with me. That's not my point. But I think with Dana being here and under Dr. Dolan's, leadership, a lot of things have changed. There's been a lot of very smart business decisions, and I know all too often we try not to look at this necessarily as a business, but in fact, it really is a business, and we are in the business of educating your children, but we have lots of buildings, we have lots of employees, and we need to be thinking about this as a business. It's a $100 million, budget. Plenty of companies are not nearly that big, and part of managing a good business is not only dealing with the day-to-day, but also planning and investing for the future. And I think 6 years ago, we weren't able to necessarily be thinking about the future. We had to be looking, right here. And by virtue of what you saw up there tonight, things like being able to do the track, out of maintenance or out of capital reserve, and $3 million out of capital reserve, that was because of a lot of very good business decisions by the administration in conjunction with the board. So it's not easy. We know taxpayers want to pay as little tax as possible. I get it, I'm a taxpayer. But at the same time, we have buildings that average over 50 years old, and we need to keep them safe and secure and good learning environments. So that said, thanks again for a very good effort. I think we've got a good plan for the next couple of years here on how to continue to invest. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
No?
Thank you. I'd ask the board to approve the minutes of our board meeting held on February 28th and the private minutes of the same day. Can I have a second, please? Mark, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Personnel, Mark.
I'd like the board to consider personnel items 1 through 16. Second. Peggy, thank you. Dr. Dolan?
Yes, tonight I'm announcing with regret, the retirements of 5 staff members, and their service totals 109 years to the district.
I was going to say 100, but
For the last 11 years, Sue Hannes has held guidance and attendance secretarial positions at Roosevelt. She has exemplified competence, thoughtfulness, and professionalism in working with students, staff, and the Roosevelt community. She has been a welcoming presence for students and the families new to Roosevelt and has been tireless in her efforts to make those students feel comfortable and at ease in their new school. Maura Abraham has been Roosevelt's librarian and media specialist since 1993. Over the years, she has created a library which is student-centered and she was also instrumental in bringing important changes when the library underwent a major renovation a few years ago. Maura works collaboratively with the departments in the building to provide meaningful instruction and helpful resources with an emphasis on the value of technology. And she's most proud of having created Greta's Corner, a niche in the library dedicated to the memory of a former student. Pat Marciano came to the Westfield schools after a successful career as an engineer. She began as a leave replacement at Edison and then moved to the high school's math department. Pat incorporates engaging real-life applications and uses technology in ways to strengthen students' understanding. Pat has been pleased to represent the math department at 8th grade Parents' Night and as a faculty member of the PTSO, and she enjoys being the advisor for the Quiz Bowl team. Jeanette Munaz has been the principal of Jefferson School for the last 15 years. She is a literacy expert and has shared her perspective and knowledge not only with her own staff, but with the district when the K-5 language arts curriculum was revamped to include the important components of balanced literacy. She knows her students and their families well and is proactive about their needs. Jeannie has been an effective mentor to new administrative colleagues and to novice teachers as they begin their careers in the Westfield schools. And Stu Carey. Mr. Carey has been a member of the Westfield schools for 48 years. He started as a physical education teacher at Edison and at the high school, and then became an assistant principal both at the high school and then Edison before becoming Roosevelt's principal. He has also been a highly respected and much-loved coach who has helped to shape the character of countless young student athletes. Leading by example, he has guided a number of Westfield's administrators as they learn the complexities of being an educational leader. These educators have given much to the Westfield Public Schools, and they will be missed, and we certainly wish all of them well in their retirement. They have served Westfield and the students in Westfield quite well for a lot of years.
Indeed.
That's it on personnel? Oh, we can move it, sorry.
Yeah. You
Dana?
moved and
Yeah,
seconded, you
Dana.
just need to vote. Mike Beelan,
Yeah.
Mark Friedman,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Peggy Astor,
Yes.
Charles Astor.
Yes.
That's it.
Facilities, Brendan.
No report. The facilities committee meeting that was scheduled for next Friday, the 24th, has been moved
Changed
to
to
the
the
31st.
Okay, sorry, I was distracted by that. Long-range planning, Mark.
Ooh, what was it to say? So there was a meeting that I did not make.
Right.
Would you mind,
Yeah,
updating?
sure. We had a long-range planning meeting a couple weeks ago. The bulk of our conversation was about our strategic plan to evaluate the possibility of full-day kindergarten in Westfield. We spent some time looking at proposals that Dr. Dolan and Dana had received from demographers, is that the right?
That's
Yes.
correct.
And we selected one of them and kind of narrowed the focus of the proposal to what we wanted, and I think that that's probably moving forward. We also talked about just generally ways in which we can get information from our community about the possibility of full-day kindergarten, the degree to which people, number one, want it. Number two, realize that along with that may be either a referendum for facilities and some increase to our operating budget to fund the additional staff and all the other costs that would come with it. I don't know that we landed anywhere. This is definitely a long-term conversation, but that was the gist of it. I can't find my notes right now. I don't know if
No,
we talked about anything else.
No, you're correct. And we have been working since then within the district to gather more information which will help inform which way we do try to go going forward. And we have reached out to the demographers so that we can start that process of getting a better sense of what we can expect in enrollment in general in the district over the next 5 years, which will help inform what options we'll have.
Right, exactly, thank you. And I don't know when the next meeting is off the top of my head. Do you know?
We
I
haven't
don't
made
think
it
we
yet
put one on the
No.
calendar.
Okay,
because we've reached out and done a few different things and we're waiting for the information to come back.
great. Nothing further,
Thank you.
correct? Policies, Chris isn't here, I'm not aware of a report. You, anybody?
No, other than there's a meeting next week, on the 21st.
Great. Curriculum, instruction, and programming. I would like to ask the board to approve the field trips that were attachment 1 to the agenda. Can I have a second, please? Brendan, thank you. Any questions about any of the field trips, all of which were regular field trips that I think we've seen before? Dana?
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Mark Friedman,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Peggy Astor,
Yes.
Charles Astor.
Yes.
And there is a curriculum meeting, tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact.
9:30.
Finance, Mark.
I'd like the board to consider finance items 1 through 18. Second?
Okay, I'll second.
Gretchen, thank you. A couple comments, however. We'd like to accept a gift of a Klaus Muller viola valued at $375 from Mr. John Urbano, so thank you for that. We'd also like to accept a gift of $9,500 from the Suchek Foundation, Inc. to Washington School to purchase 31 Chromebooks and a Chromebook cart, so thank you for that. And then also, we'd like to accept a gift of a snow pusher, very appropriate for now, valued at approximately $3,800 from the Westfield Boosters to be used for snow removal on Keller Field. Thank you for all those donations. Any questions? Dana?
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Mark Friedman.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Gretchen Olig,
Yes.
Peggy Oster,
Yes.
Charles Astroff.
Yes.
And I think we're up to technology, Peggy.
I don't have any report, and our next meeting isn't until April.
Great. I'd like to ask the board to note the notes for the record. Do we have any unfinished business? Any new business? Liaison reports? At this point, I'd recognize the public for questions and comments. Seeing no one come to the podium, I'd like the board to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing legal matters and harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents. And be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second? Mark, thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're in private session.